The breaking point. Daniel Carter stood before the Galactic Council, his face expressionless as the chamber fell silent. The circular hall housed representatives from 27 spacefaring civilizations, but today all eyes focused on the human ambassador. Earth has reached its decision, Daniel said, his voice carrying through the vast chamber. After 53 years of membership, humanity formally withdraws from the Galactic Council, effective immediately. The silence lasted only seconds before erupting into chaos. The Serpentine Solari representative hissed loudly. The Protean delegate's skin flashed bright red with alarm. Several council members shouted questions simultaneously. "This is merely a negotiation tactic," declared High Chancellor Vrek of the Zaran Empire, his four eyes narrowing. "Humans always threaten before demanding concessions." Daniel shook his head. "This is not a negotiation. The decision is final." He placed a crystalline data cube on the podium. "This contains our formal withdrawal notice and the procedure for transitioning joint projects." The myriad representative, a floating collection of luminous spheres, drifted closer. "Ambassador Carter, surely we can address your concerns. What specific grievances?" "They have all been documented in our quarterly petitions," Daniel interrupted. "For the past 18 years, none received proper consideration." Across the galaxy, in Earth's orbital headquarters, Admiral Olivia Wright watched the Council transmission with her senior staff. When Daniel delivered the withdrawal statement, she nodded to her communications officer. "Send the signal," she ordered. "Operation Exodus begins now." Throughout Council space, human ships received encoded messages. Colonial governors opened sealed orders. Military outposts initiated security protocols. The withdrawal had begun. Back in the council chamber, the Tendu ambassador approached Daniel. Unlike most council species, the insectoid Tendu had often supported human initiatives. "My friend," the Tendu said quietly, mandibles clicking with concern, "this action seems extreme. The trade implications alone. Last month, your delegation voted against our colony on Proximabu receiving water purification technology," Daniel replied. "People died waiting for that approval." The Tendu's antennae drooped. "Political pressure from the core worlds. You understand." "I understand perfectly," Daniel said. "That's why we're leaving." Chancellor Vrek pounded his ceremonial staff. "The human speaks of leaving as if they contribute meaningfully to galactic progress. Your species barely grasps concepts our children learn in nursery." Several delegates nodded in agreement. The Artaxian representative added, "Humans should remember who granted them faster-than-light technology. Without council guidance, you would still be confined to your home system." Daniel smiled for the first time. "Perhaps, yet somehow we've managed to build 14 successful colonies despite council restrictions on our expansion." "Restrictions necessary for undeveloped species," Vrek sneered. 3 years ago, Daniel continued, humanity proposed sharing our agricultural techniques that could have ended famine in the Outer Rim. The Council rejected it as untested by galactic standards. The chamber grew quieter as Daniel spoke. 2 decades ago, Earth scientists discovered a cure for Kessler's disease. The Council blocked distribution, calling it potentially destabilizing to established medical protocols. Several delegates looked away uncomfortably. "Humanity no longer seeks approval from those who fear our potential rather than welcome our contributions," Daniel concluded. "We withdraw from this council, not in anger, but in recognition that our paths must diverge." As Daniel turned to leave, an aide rushed to Chancellor Vrek, whispering urgently. The Chancellor's expression changed from dismissive to concerned. "The humans have already begun evacuating their embassy complex," Vrek announced. "All diplomatic staff are departing." The myriad representatives' lights pulsed rapidly. They were preparing before this announcement. "This is no impulsive action." Daniel paused at the chamber doorway. "The Council has 3 standard months to withdraw from human territories per galactic treaty. After that time, Any council presence will be considered unauthorized. As the doors closed behind him, Daniel sent a simple message to Admiral Wright. It's done. On the horizon, Olivia Wright gazed at the stars visible through the viewport. And so it begins, she whispered. Let's show them what humanity can really do. Silent exodus. The human colony on Vega Prime bustled with activity as families packed their belongings. Cargo ships landed hourly, their holds opening to receive containers and equipment. Colony Governor Frank Wilson supervised from the command center, watching status updates appear on the main screen. Evacuation progress at 73%, reported his assistant. The medical facility will be the last to close. All patients are stable for transport. Frank nodded. Similar scenes played out across 17 human colonies in council space. The evacuation proceeded with military precision, following plans developed years before the official withdrawal. At the Arcturus Research Station, Dr. Lisa Morales worked frantically in her lab. Assistants carefully packed experimental equipment while she finalized calculations on her tablet. How close are we? Asked Security Chief Alan Patel. Lisa looked up, dark circles under her eyes. The FTL modifications are complete. The prototype engine can achieve 4 times standard council speed. Alan whistled. No wonder they wanted this kept quiet. The council would have claimed ownership under the technology sharing accord. Lisa replied. Or worse, declared it potentially destabilizing and buried it, like they did with our gravity manipulation research. 3 weeks after Earth's withdrawal announcement, the Galactic Council held an emergency session. Chancellor Vrek addressed the gathered representatives. The humans continue their theatrical departure, he said with practiced indifference. Let them sulk in their corner of the galaxy. They will return when they realize how dependent they are on council trade and technology. The Tendu representative clicked his mandibles nervously. Our analysts report this is not a temporary action. Human commercial enterprises have canceled all contracts. Their mining operations on 6 worlds have transferred ownership to local entities. They cannot survive without council markets, insisted the Artaxian delegate. 62% of human exports flow through our trade networks. On the edges of council space, the minor species watched with growing concern. The Novan Collective, barely granted observer status in the council, convened their own meeting. The humans always treated us fairly, said Elder Mira of the Novans. Their medical supplies saved thousands during the plague. What happens when those supplies stop coming? Meanwhile, the first wave of human ships pushed beyond the frontier. Captain Ben Foster commanded the exploration vessel Pathfinder, leading a fleet of survey ships into unexplored space. Sensors show 3 potentially habitable worlds in this system alone, his science officer reported. No sign of sentient life or council beacons. Ben smiled. Perfect. Signal the colonization fleet. We've found our first new home. Back in council space, the first economic tremors began. On Taxilia Prime, a manufacturing hub, factory supervisor Wren noticed the shortage first. Where are the human component shipments? He demanded. The assembly line for medical scanners is halted. Humans canceled all orders, his logistics officer replied. They've recalled their engineers too. No one here understands how their precision parts work. Similar reports spread throughout council territories. Human goods vanished from markets. Human specialists departed without transferring knowledge. Services that species had taken for granted suddenly ceased. At a secret facility near Saturn, Lisa Morales presented her completed work to Admiral Wright and the Earth Defense Council. The new drive is ready for mass production, she announced, activating a holographic display. We can refit our entire fleet within 8 months. Olivia Wright studied the projected timelines, and the council has no idea. Their intelligence assumed we were decades away from this breakthrough. Lisa confirmed. They always underestimated us. 6 months after the withdrawal, Chancellor Vrek received disturbing news. The human exodus was complete. No human citizens remained in council space. More alarmingly, Long-range scouts reported human ships venturing into regions previously deemed uninhabitable. Impossible, Vrek muttered. Those sectors lack suitable planets. The intelligence officer looked uncomfortable. New data suggests they've developed terraforming techniques beyond our capabilities. They're creating habitable worlds where none existed. For the first time, Vrek felt a flutter of concern. Perhaps the humans had been hiding more than anyone realized. The new frontier. 3 years passed since humanity's departure from the Galactic Council. The silence from human space had grown deafening. Council intelligence networks found their probes mysteriously disabled whenever they approached former human territories. Speculation ran wild through council chambers about humanity's fate. Then, without warning, the veil lifted. Commander Eric Daniels stood on the bridge of the UES Trailblazer, the most advanced warship ever built by human hands. Around him, a fleet of 30 similar vessels dropped out of FTL travel near the neutral trading post at Centauri Junction, a crossroads for dozens of species. Open channels on all frequencies, Eric ordered. Let's announce our return. Across the galaxy, screens lit up with the same message. Greetings from the Human Federation. We invite diplomatic and trade representatives to Centauri Junction for formal introductions. The message continued with footage showing vast human cities on planets the Council had deemed uninhabitable. Massive orbital stations constructed in regions previously thought impassable due to radiation. Mining operations in asteroid fields considered too dangerous to approach. On Artax Prime, Council scientists watched in stunned silence. These ships use drive technology we've never seen, whispered one analyst. Their hulls contain alloys our scans can't identify. In the council chambers, representatives argued bitterly. They've expanded into the dead zones, exclaimed the Zeran delegate. Impossible. Those regions are lethal to all known life forms. The Tendu clicked nervously. Not impossible. Merely difficult. They've clearly developed technologies they never shared with the Council. Kate Foster, Earth's newly appointed diplomat, arrived at Centauri Junction aboard a sleek vessel that dwarfed the station itself. Representatives from 24 species waited anxiously in the main hall. Kate walked confidently to the podium, her simple blue uniform bearing only a small Earth insignia. Thank you for responding to our invitation, she began. The Human Federation extends greetings and offers of friendship to all peaceful species. A myriad representative floated forward. Your people disappeared for 3 years. Now you return with technologies far beyond what you possessed before. Explanations are required. Kate smiled politely. We've been busy. When freed from council restrictions, humanity's progress accelerated dramatically. She activated a holographic display showing a map of the galaxy. Blue lights indicated human settlements, hundreds of them, spread across 3 spiral arms, including regions the Council had abandoned or never explored. The Human Federation now encompasses 97 star systems, Kate announced. We've established contact with 15 species unknown to the Council, all now our trading partners. Murmurs spread through the gathered aliens. The human territory had tripled in size. More significantly, Kate continued, we've mastered planetary engineering. The hologram shifted to show a barren world transforming. Mountains rose from flat plains. Oceans filled empty basins. Atmosphere thickened with breathable air. In accelerated time, the dead rock became a living world. This was New Eden, formerly asteroid belt KDX 439. Kate explained, deemed permanently uninhabitable by Council scientists, now home to 3 million humans. On another frontier, far from Council observation, Professor Adam Reeves supervised the completion of humanity's greatest achievement. The massive structure orbited a neutron star, harvesting energy at scales previously thought theoretical. Power output stable at 98%, reported his assistant. The Dyson sphere segment is fully operational. Adam nodded with satisfaction. Begin energy transmission to colonies in sectors 4 through 7. Back at Centauri Junction, Kate Foster finished her presentation by extending a surprising offer. The Human Federation welcomes applications from any species wishing to establish trade or diplomatic relations. Unlike the Council, we impose no technological restrictions on our partners. Later that day, representatives from 11 minor species, most barely acknowledged by the Council, signed preliminary agreements with humans. From his flagship, Eric Daniels watched the proceedings with satisfaction. Phase 3 complete, he reported to Earth Command. The Council has seen our progress. The independent species are responding positively. Admiral Olivia Wright's reply came moments later. Well done, Commander. Continue as planned. Show them what humanity can accomplish without chains. The universe is watching. And indeed, throughout Council space, beings of all species discussed the same question. What else had humans been hiding all these years? Economic tremors. 5 years after humanity's withdrawal, the Artaxian trade minister stared at the projection with growing horror. Supply chains across the sector showed critical failures. Manufacturing hubs sat idle. Mining operations struggled without specialized equipment. How bad is it? Asked First Minister Jorix. Catastrophic, replied the trade minister. 43% of our industrial capacity is offline. Without human components and technical expertise, our most advanced systems are failing. Replacement parts don't exist. Similar scenes played out across Council space. Species that had mocked humanity's departure now faced harsh realities. The humans had been far more essential than anyone had admitted. On Zarin Prime, Chancellor Vrek faced an angry council of clan leaders. Our military vessels require human-designed gravitational compensators, one general complained. Without them, a third of our fleet is grounded. Vrek slammed his fist down. Find alternatives. The Council has scientists from 20 species. We've tried, another leader replied. Human tech was unique. They approached problems differently. Our engineers don't think the same way. In human space, Professor Adam Reeves unveiled his latest creation to an audience of scientists and government officials. The holographic display showed thousands of interconnected nodes pulsing with light. The quantum neural network is fully operational. Adam announced, processing power exceeds all previous AI systems by orders of magnitude. A government representative leaned forward. Practical applications. Unlimited, Adam replied. We've already optimized colony placement across 17 sectors. Predicted resource needs for the next century. Solved 53 unsolvable engineering problems. The audience applauded as Adam continued. Most importantly, the network identified patterns in space-time we never noticed. We're developing new FTL drive systems that could cut travel time by 80%. On the edge of former Council space, the Tendu colony world of Hive Haven faced crisis. Their agricultural systems collapsed after a pathogen mutated beyond control. Starvation loomed for millions. Colonial Administrator Chikta prepared to send a desperate plea to the Council when an unidentified ship appeared in orbit. Scans showed human design. We detected your crop failure, came the transmission. The Human Federation offers assistance. Hours later, human shuttles landed, bringing scientists, medical personnel, and equipment. Among them was Dr. Linda Porter, who approached Chikta with respect. We've developed a counteragent for your blight, she explained. No payment required. We remember when your people supported us in council debates. Tears formed in Chikta's compound eyes. While others mock, you help. Why? Linda smiled gently. Humanity remembers its friends. Word spread quickly. Human aid ships appeared wherever disasters struck, regardless of past political alignments. When a myriad world suffered atmospheric collapse, humans brought technology to restore it. When Novan colonies faced pirate attacks, human vessels drove the attackers away. In council chambers, debates grew heated. The Artaxian delegation formally proposed reopening relations with humans. Our economy cannot survive without their trade, the Artaxian representative argued. Chancellor Vrek opposed the motion. They abandoned us. Now we should beg for their help. They didn't abandon the galaxy, corrected the Tendu representative. They abandoned us, the Council, because we treated them as inferior. The distinction matters. Meanwhile, 3 minor species officially withdrew from the Council to join the Human Federation. Their ambassadors spoke of fair treatment, technological sharing, and economic growth. Council intelligence reported alarming developments. Human territory now contained over 200 worlds. Their ships traveled faster, their weapons seemed more advanced, their economies flourished while Council worlds struggled. Most disturbing was the discovery that a human outpost existed near Zaran Prime itself, established years before humanity's withdrawal. The outpost contained only scientific instruments, monitoring Council activities while remaining undetected. They were watching us, Vrek realized with dawning horror, planning their independence while pretending to follow our rules. On a disputed border world, a Council military force attempted to intimidate a newly established human colony. Admiral Paula Jackson watched calmly from her command ship as the Council vessels approached. "They're charging weapons," reported her tactical officer. Paula nodded. "Activate Defense Grid Alpha." Instantly, hundreds of previously invisible satellites powered up around the planet. The Council ships froze as their sensors detected weapon locks from all directions. The Council fractures. 7 years after humanity's departure, the once magnificent Council chamber had lost its luster. Empty seats marked where species had withdrawn. The ornate ceiling leaked during storms. Even the translation systems malfunctioned regularly. Chancellor Vrek faced the diminished assembly. His once proud posture now stooped with age and worry. "The Novans have officially withdrawn," he announced. "That makes 11 former members now aligned with the Human Federation." The Artaxian representative rose immediately. "This cannot continue. Our worlds face resource shortages while human territories prosper. We must negotiate with them." "Negotiate?" hissed the Zaran military attaché. From a position of weakness, the humans planned this humiliation for decades. The debate quickly descended into accusations. The Myriads blamed the Zarans for antagonizing humans. The Artaxians accused the Tendu of secretly collaborating with Earth. Old grievances, long suppressed under Council unity, erupted into open hostility. Vrek pounded his ceremonial staff for order, but few listened. On the rim world of Proxima Colony, refugees arrived daily. The Council's civil war had spread to 17 systems. Minor species caught between major powers suffered most. Families fled with whatever they could carry, seeking safety in human space. Governor Maria Alvarez greeted each transport personally. "You're safe now," she told the frightened Artaxian child. "No one will harm you here." Behind her, temporary shelters stretched across the valley. Medical centers treated the injured. Food distribution centers ensured no one went hungry. "Another transport incoming," her aide reported. 300 more refugees, mostly Tendu and Novans. Maria nodded. "Make sure the insectoid habitats are prepared. Their environmental needs differ from the others." In orbit above a contested Council world, Admiral Olivia Wright watched as Zaran cruisers fired on Artaxian civilian ships. Her fleet of human vessels maintained position at the system's edge, observing but not engaging. "Admiral," her communications officer called. "We're receiving distress signals from the civilian transports. They're carrying families, not military." Olivia's expression hardened. "Move the fleet into blocking position. Warn the Zaran commander that attacks on civilian vessels violate galactic common law. We will provide humanitarian protection." Her ships advanced, positioning themselves between the aggressors and their targets. The Zaran vessels hesitated, then targeted their weapons on the human fleet. "They're locking weapons on us," reported the tactical officer. "Activate defensive systems only," Olivia ordered. "No offensive action unless fired upon." The lead Zaran ship fired, its energy blast aimed directly at Olivia's flagship. The beam struck an invisible barrier 20 kilometers from the human vessel, dissipating harmlessly. "Return communication," Olivia commanded. Inform them that was their only free shot. The next will be considered an act of war against the Human Federation. The Zeran fleet retreated quickly. Later, as human ships escorted the civilian transports to safety, an Artaxian captain opened communications. How did your shields absorb a full military strike without power fluctuation? Olivia smiled slightly. That technology was proposed to the Council 15 years ago. Your scientists dismissed it as theoretically unsound. Back in the Council chamber, the fragile peace shattered completely. The Zeran delegation stormed out after accusations of resource hoarding. The Myriads and Tendu formed a defensive pact against Artaxian expansion. 3 minor species declared neutrality but were ignored. As Vrek watched his life's work collapse, a human observer sat quietly in the visitors' gallery. Nicole Bennett, humanitarian coordinator, took careful notes of each new conflict and refugee situation. That evening, she transmitted her report to Earth. Council dissolution accelerating. Estimate complete collapse within 8 months. Refugee numbers may exceed 10 billion. Recommend immediate expansion of relief preparations. The response came quickly. Understood. Relief fleet standing by. Sanctuary worlds prepared in sectors 3, 7, and 12. Diplomatic corps ready when they finally ask for help. On his private estate, Chancellor Vrek watched news reports of human ships rescuing civilians from a battle zone. The same humans his people had belittled for generations now showed more honor than the council members. We were wrong about them, he whispered to his empty study. So terribly wrong. The proposal. 10 years after humanity withdrew from the Galactic Council, the Grand Council chamber sat mostly empty. Only 14 species still attended regular sessions, down from the original 27. Their debates accomplished little as resources dwindled and conflicts continued throughout former council space. Chancellor Vrek, now using a mobility aid, shuffled to his podium for what many expected to be another pointless session. Before he could speak, the chamber doors opened. A human walked in. Conversation stopped. All eyes turned to watch diplomat Ryan Mitchell stride confidently toward the speaker's platform. His simple gray uniform bore only a small Earth insignia, yet his presence commanded more attention than any elaborately dressed council member. Greetings, Ryan said, his voice carrying easily through the chamber. The Human Federation extends an invitation to all species represented here today. Chancellor Vrek leaned forward. After a decade of silence, you return with an invitation. What could possibly interest us? Ryan activated the small device. Holographic images appeared around the chamber, ancient documents, historical recordings, and technical specifications. For centuries, the Council has operated under a charter supposedly created by your founding members, Ryan explained. We've discovered that charter was altered. He gestured, and the displays showed side-by-side comparisons of documents. The original charter guaranteed equal representation for all spacefaring species. Later modifications created the tiered system that placed newer members, like humans, in subordinate positions. Murmurs spread through the chamber as representatives examined the evidence. These are forgeries, Chancellor Vrek declared, but his voice lacked conviction. The verification data is available for your experts, Ryan replied calmly. We found the original charter in the archives on Proxima Station, archives your predecessors thought destroyed during the Novan conflict. The Tendu representative clicked his mandibles in agitation. If this is true, the Council has operated fraudulently for over 800 years. Ryan nodded. Yes, and that broken system has finally collapsed under its own corruption. He touched his device again, and the holograms showed new images. Thriving worlds, advanced cities, ships of unique design. The Human Federation now includes 38 species across 312 systems, Ryan continued. We've built something different. An alliance where technological advancement benefits everyone, where no species holds dominance over others. The Artaxian representative stood. Pretty words, but what do you actually propose? A new beginning, Ryan answered. The Turin Accord. a genuine alliance built on equality. Each member maintains sovereignty while sharing knowledge, resources, and protection. He distributed data tablets to each representative. Review our proposal. Your people deserve better than the slow collapse they're experiencing now. Later that day, former Council Military Commander Diane Powell arrived to answer security questions. The Zeren military representative challenged her immediately. Your proposal speaks of mutual defense, the Zeren said. Yet many worlds have suffered during these years of conflict. Where was human protection then? Diane activated her own holographic display, showing a vast network of satellites and stations throughout Council space. The Sentinel Network, she explained, deployed secretly during our last 5 years in the Council. When your civil war erupted, we activated it. The display showed energy shields protecting civilian centers during bombardments, automated medical units treating casualties, emergency supply drops in war zones. Millions would have died without this network, Diane continued. We couldn't stop your war, but we could minimize civilian casualties. The chamber fell silent as council members realized humans had been protecting their people all along. The myriad representatives' lights pulsed with emotion. You maintained this network for a decade, at considerable expense, protecting people who had rejected you. That's what civilized species do, Diane replied simply. As the session ended, Chancellor Vrek approached Ryan privately. You've been planning this since before your withdrawal, haven't you? Ryan met his gaze steadily. The first contingency plans were drafted 53 years ago. The day we joined the Council, we hoped they'd never be needed. 53 years. Vrek seemed stunned. That's patient, Ryan suggested. Methodical. Humans plan for the long term, Chancellor. Something the Council never understood about us. Vrek looked around the faded chamber, then back at the human. And now, a new order. The orbital platform Genesis hung in space between Earth and Luna, a massive structure of gleaming metal and crystal. Designed specifically for the historic occasion, it represented neutral ground for all species. Representatives from 50 galactic civilizations gathered in the Grand Assembly Hall. Former council members sat alongside species the council had once deemed too primitive for membership. All were equals here. Earth's President Sofia Garcia stood at the central podium, her simple white uniform standing out against the colorful and varied dress of the assembled delegates. Welcome to the first gathering of the Turin Accord, she began. Today marks the beginning of a new chapter for all our peoples. Behind her, enormous viewports showed Earth, beautiful and blue. The symbolism was not lost on the attendees. Humanity had withdrawn to its homeworld, rebuilt, and now emerged stronger than ever. 10 years ago, humanity left the Galactic Council seeking freedom to determine our own destiny. Sofia continued. We did not anticipate that our departure would trigger such profound changes for all species. Former Chancellor Vrek, now serving as a regular Zeren delegate, watched the human president with newfound respect. His people had suffered greatly in the council collapse, yet here they were, rebuilding alongside former rivals. The old council structure promoted division and hierarchy, Sofia explained. The accord is founded on different principles: equality, sovereignty, mutual support, and shared progress. She gestured to a simple document displayed on screens throughout the chamber. The Accord Charter contains just 7 articles. No hidden clauses, no special privileges for founding members. Every signatory stands equal under its provisions. One by one, representatives approached to sign the digital charter. The Artaxians, once humanity's harshest critics. The Tendu, who had often supported Earth's causes. The Myriads, the Novans, the Zerans, former enemies now united in common purpose. When the signing concluded, Dr. Samuel Jackson took the podium. His research team had pioneered technologies that transformed galactic society. As a gesture of our commitment to this new beginning, Samuel announced, the Human Federation freely shares our advances in clean energy production. Holographic displays showed the designs for fusion reactors far more efficient than anything in council space. These systems will be provided to all Accord members, along with technical experts to assist with implementation, Samuel explained. Energy independence for all worlds is our first shared goal. Many delegates appeared shocked. Under Council rules, such technology would have been restricted to privileged members or licensed at enormous cost. After the formal proceedings, President Garcia led the delegates to the Memorial Garden, a beautiful space filled with plants from dozens of worlds. It centered around a monument listing those lost during the tumultuous decade after humanity's withdrawal. "We honor those who did not live to see today," Sophia said softly. "Their sacrifice reminds us of our responsibility to build something worthy of their memory." Admiral Olivia Wright, now white-haired but still commanding, stood with several alien military leaders near the monument. A Zeren commander approached her hesitantly. "Our intelligence estimated that human military capacity was minimal," the Zeren admitted. "Yet your forces could have conquered half the galaxy during our civil war. Why didn't you?" Olivia smiled gently. "Because conquest was never our goal. We sought partnership, not dominance." As evening approached, representatives boarded the massive human vessel Harmony for the inaugural Accord Council meeting. Unlike the hierarchical arrangement of the old council chamber, the Harmony's meeting hall featured a circular design where all seats held equal prominence. Daniel Carter, now an elder statesman, watched the delegates file in. As Earth's original ambassador who had delivered the withdrawal announcement a decade earlier, he felt profound satisfaction seeing his work completed. "Did you ever imagine this outcome?" asked Kate Foster, standing beside him. Daniel shook his head. "We hoped, but the reality exceeds our most optimistic projections." Below them, delegates engaged in animated conversations, former enemies now discussing joint projects. Species that had barely acknowledged each other under council rule now exchanged cultural information and scientific insights. "The universe needed balance," Daniel observed. "The council created artificial hierarchies that were bound to collapse eventually." As the session began, President Garcia took a seat among the delegates rather than at a central position. The symbolic gesture was not lost on anyone present. Beyond the stars, 20 years after the formation of the Terran Accord, the galaxy looked unrecognizable compared to the days of council rule. The Accord now encompassed 73 species across nearly 1,000 star systems. Peace and prosperity had replaced conflict and scarcity. On the frontier world of Novaterra, a joint expedition prepared for humanity's most ambitious project yet. Scientists and engineers from 12 species worked together on a massive launch platform that stretched across 10 square kilometers. Project Director Jason Reed surveyed the bustling activity with satisfaction. Enormous vessels carried components to the central construction area where the Pathfinder waited, a ship unlike any before it. "Final checks complete," reported Chief Engineer Lena Howard. "The dimensional drive is stable. Quantum navigational matrix online." Jason nodded. "And our volunteers?" "All aboard and in stasis," Lena confirmed. 200 explorers from 27 species. The Pathfinder represented the culmination of technologies developed across multiple civilizations. Unlike traditional vessels that travel through normal space, even at FTL speeds, the Pathfinder would attempt something revolutionary: travel to another galaxy. In orbit above Novaterra, an observation platform hosted dignitaries from throughout the Accord. Ambassador Ryan Mitchell, now elderly but still sharp, explained the project to a group of newly admitted species. "The Andromeda Galaxy lies 2.5 million light-years away," Ryan said. "With conventional drives, the journey would take thousands of years. The dimensional drive will create a temporary corridor through subspace, allowing passage in just 14 months. A young Zeren diplomat raised his hand. "Is such technology safe? The energy requirements must be enormous." "That's why this platform is 10 kilometers from the nearest settlement," Ryan smiled. "But yes, our models show 99.7% probability of success." The gathered representatives watched view screens showing final preparations. The Pathfinder itself looked strange to most eyes, less a traditional spacecraft, and more a silvery teardrop surrounded by concentric rings. Notice the design incorporates elements from multiple species, Ryan pointed out. The outer hull uses Tendu crystalline matrices. The navigation systems were developed by myriad consciousness clusters. The life support stems from Artaxian biological engineering. A Novan elder clicked appreciatively. Truly a galactic effort. In the Pathfinder's control center, Captain Julia Alvarez completed her pre-launch checks. Around her, crew members from 7 different species monitored their stations. All systems green, reported her Artaxian first officer. Dimensional field generators at optimal capacity. Julia opened a channel to the launch control. Pathfinder to control. We are go for launch. Jason Reed's voice came through clearly. Acknowledged, Pathfinder. Commence launch sequence at your discretion. Good luck and safe journey. Julia looked around at her diverse crew, feeling the weight of history. Begin countdown. 10 minutes to dimensional insertion. On Earth, billions watched the live transmission. Among them was Daniel Carter, now in his final years. The former ambassador who had started humanity's journey of independence sat in his garden, surrounded by family. Grandfather, his young granddaughter asked, "Did you know this would happen when you left the council?" Daniel smiled gently. No one could have predicted this exact outcome. We only knew that humanity needed freedom to reach its potential. He gestured toward the screen showing the Pathfinder. But the most important result wasn't technological. Look at that crew, species that once barely tolerated each other, now venturing beyond our galaxy together. The countdown reached its final moments. On Nova Terra, the massive platform hummed with energy as power flowed into the Pathfinder's dimensional systems. Dimensional field stabilized, reported the Tendu science officer aboard the ship. Corridor formation in progress.